listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Hello. Welcome to another edition of the Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, original people reciprocity, and original people positivity. And I am your host, Halsey Allen. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Welcome all my narrators. It seems like it's been forever, but it was just really, I didn't do a full broadcast over the weekend. I know I told you all during my last weekday broadcast to tune in for the weekend broadcast, but I didn't upload an episode. It was my born day weekend. I didn't turn up or anything like that. I had actually no plans to even leave my home, but somebody would call me that was thinking about me, and they wanted to show their appreciation and treat me out for the day in which I was born. So that's the reason why I didn't do a weekend episode of the Narrative Podcast. I could have after we just basically did brunch, and they showed their appreciation, and we had fun, but no alcohol or nothing like that. It was just like, hey, thinking of you type thing, and that's the individual I am. So when somebody goes out of their way to do something nice for me, I take them up on it. Now, how I personally feel about, rituals and all that, this is a person that knows me personally. They already know my views and everything. So we didn't do any, cake and ice cream and sang the birthday song, which, in my opinion, everybody should stop doing, because if you know the origins of it, you're actually shortening your lifespan when you engage in it, because it's a ritual. But anyway, so this person just wanted to show their appreciation and and thank me for everything I've done for them and all that. So it's all good. That's the reason why I didn't do an upload over the weekend for the Narrative Podcast. So after that activity, I just used the rest of the day as just to reflect upon all the years that I've been alive, and be thankful and grateful that I'm still here, and just like everybody does, just ponder over everything, all the obstacles and hurdles that they have conquered all throughout their life. And I know more is waiting around the corner for me, but from where I was to where I am now. So that's what I was doing, just kind of pondering and reflecting and being grateful for my life, and that I mean something to somebody else's life. But yeah, that's essentially why I didn't do a full episode of the Narrative Podcast over the weekend. So my narrators, they already know the demonstration. They already know what the Narrative Podcast is about. They already know about my how I have my format set up, and all the content I'll be discussing this evening. But For those of you that are unfamiliar with me and the Narrative Podcast platform, I'm going to bring you up to speed before diving into the content this evening. But before that, a whole lot of things has been happening in the world just since last weekend. And I'm going to acknowledge some things, and then I'm going to give you a walkthrough of the Narrative Podcast in my format. For all the new listeners, I'm just going to give a brief overview before diving into the content this evening. But like I said, I just want to, a whole lot of things have been, happening lately. So just want to acknowledge some things before diving into the content. So start off with one of the most recent ones. Unfortunately, a devastating loss in the hip-hop community. Female rapper Boss passed away on March 11th. So today's the 14th. Just a couple of days ago. I didn't really read, the cause of her untimely departing, but, I'm pretty sure it was of natural causes. The few articles that I came across in regards to it said she had been experiencing some long-term health issues. So she was definitely a pioneer in hip-hop. She was a female MC that kind of pioneered. There was a style in the early 90s called grimy. She's like one of the first grimy female artists. Basically, she, hip hop has always been like follow the leader. So that's what she did when she came up with that persona Boss. She was just mimicking the males in the hip hop industry. She said, well, at the time, the fashion was like, either Dickie suits, Benjamin Davis, Carhartt, overalls, Timberland boots, of course, dark shades, or as they call them on the West Coast, lokes, and really baggy clothes. And so, she just developed a persona to kind of lean into the grimy genre of hip hop. And she dominated it for her entire reign of hip hop. Her name is actually an acronym, which stands for B word on some S. And she spelled it with $2 signs, and it worked on so many levels for my first experience that I had in the early 90s as a teenager with her music was through Russell Simmons. He had created a TV first. He actually did a concert, but he put it on pay-per-view television. And back in those days, in the early 90s, that was a ballsy move, because the only thing pay-per-view television was used for in the early 90s was for sporting events like pro wrestling and boxing. So that there wasn't even just airing regular movies on pay-per-view television on cable yet. So this was it was a real innovative move on Russell Simmons' part, but that's my first experience with her as an artist, her skill level and everything, because she was a headliner for this Def Jam show that Russell Simmons put together. It was like all the big fresh talent on the Def Jam roster, as well as some veterans of Def Jam that Russell Simmons put together. She was the headliner. Redman on his debut single, as a solo artist. Das Effects. Who else was on that? And then I believe, if I'm recalling right, I know she definitely was on the roster. Redman. It was quite a while ago, but like I said, it was something innovative in hip hop, something that has never been done before, and she was on the forefront of that. So it was her, like Redman, a couple more people that was out, Onyx. I really can't recall anymore because, like I said, it was like over almost 30 years ago. But yeah, but like I said, she was a pioneer in the grimy style of hip hop, and of course, it was a persona. Years later, she was reflecting on her time as an MC, rhyming under the moniker Boss. Read an article in a magazine. They had a picture of her, all femmed up. She was in like a pantsuit, and had her, she was like makeup on and hair done up, so she was real elegant. They had her in the magazine cover looking real elegant, and they did like a split, like seeing her as Boss, and then seeing her as the business entity she went on to be, after her hip hop run was over. So, it is a devastating loss in the world of hip hop. So, she will be missed, and we're going to give her a moment of silence. The next untimely passing actually happened before her. Before Boss passed away, happened like I think about a couple weeks prior to that. A producer of children's programming on Nickelodeon passed. A sister by the name of Janice Burrs. Her biggest things in her resume that she's most famous for, she's been doing like, children's programming her entire career, but, the two biggest things in her resume and the things that she will be missed for is Gullah Island and the Backyardians. And that's, basically like children's television programming for children between the ages of 2 to like, I believe, 10. So a whole lot of good, wholesome lessons, good, wholesome programming, learning and all that, singing and, yeah, it's a devastating loss within our community because, our children, original children in our community who are now adults, millennials and post-millennials approaching adulthood, they know, that was a big part of their childhood, especially Gullah Island. Within our community, why that's so hurtful, that was a television show visually depicting the culture of, the Gullah Islands, Gullah Geechee culture. So, our children in that early time frame, had a visual representation of who they were, at who they are as a people. And that was just unheard of back then. So, it exhibited and displayed Gullah culture. So, that's kind of why that's so hurtful. That's why it's such a hurtful loss, because, since her passing, we haven't really seen a whole lot of programming, even remotely similar to, what they were teaching our children back then, of how to, culturally identify. And so we already know the agenda that they're putting on our children now, all the things that they're just, allowing for them to absorb, all these different, agendas and communities that they're trying to, push on our children. But that was, that was a kind of a devastating loss. Next thing, I'm going to give her a moment of silence before moving on to the next thing I want to address before diving into the content this evening, or before diving into the synopsis this evening of the Narrator podcast. What do we have on tap? We're going to give that sister a moment of silence. On a lighter note, I got one more. I want to also, now the Narrator podcast is about original people and original people culture. But this loss kind of pertains to our community, and this is a spoiler alert, because it's going to be a speaking point later on in the program. But we have to also acknowledge the loss of Japanese anime sensation Akira Toriyama. And the reason why I'm acknowledging that, well, I get to it a little bit later, but we are the original people of this planet. So, we was on every single corner of the globe early in civilization, and we was, our influence on the continent of Asia was really pronounced. But I said all that to say, through his art form, our children had something, wholesome to be a part of, and that's a refreshing change. And he created the space where our children could be just children, living in a time where, they're getting pressured to grow up before they're ready to grow up. So, I would rather our young men discuss manga and, who's stronger in the, in the franchise, one of, a character he created in this franchise, they're debating about that instead of, going out trying to commit crimes and, unaliving people and, selling drugs and using drugs. So I would prefer they do that, be in that world, than in that street life world. And the same thing with the young ladies. Like, I would prefer that's a refreshing change of pace to see our young ladies go to these, Comic Cons and dress up like their favorite anime hero, as opposed to being on Instagram and dressing up like their favorite thought rapper. Exposing their bodies and selling their bodies online. So, like I said, we kind of, he kind of did do something semi-positive to impact our culture in a positive way. Like I said, I'll be unpacking, his polarizing effect he had on our culture a little bit later on in the segment, but I did want to acknowledge, the passing of Akira Toriyama. But on a lighter note, congratulations to everybody within our community who participated, got nominated, and won an Oscar in the, this year's Oscar award show. I'm going to be getting a little bit into that. In the past, I've always, said, why do we care so much? But when you do the knowledge and know, who invented, like who it was named after, then you kind of see, why a lot of our seasoned, classically trained actors and actresses, why that award show means so much to them, because they do possess the knowledge and they do know who the awards show was named after and, what that means. So if you don't know who was named after, it was a brother by the name of Oscar Macho who actually invented movies. But like I said, shout out to all our brothers and sisters who participated in and won and got nominated for the Oscars this year. Next thing I want to touch on, acknowledge. We got a whole lot of people in our community who are devout Muslims. So what's going on right now is I believe we're about a week into Ramadan. So shout out all Muslims worldwide within our community celebrating Ramadan. And for those that don't know, what Ramadan is, an Islamic tradition in which they, profess their love for their Savior, Black God, Allah, by edifying their bodies, their temples for 30 years, abstaining from food. I said 30 years, 30 days. By abstaining from food, they fast, they reflect, and they pray. So now the fasting part, they fast to not all day, but just they're not supposed to eat before the sun goes down. And then also they, do a whole lot of meditating and praying and, reflection and it's kind of like a mindfulness, a spiritual mindfulness type thing, and they use that to kind of break bad habits. So they don't want to engage in anything unpleasing to, Black God Allah. So, that's what Ramadan is all about. Just, an outward show of their faith, basically. And you don't even have to be like Muslim to participate in Ramadan. You can use that for whatever you believe in. Because, Ramadan is all about discipline. And I think, all the problems that we're having in the world today, most of it stems from people not being disciplined. They don't, all these health people, young people dying, for the internet, passing away before, their time because they're not disciplined with their eating habits. They're not disciplined with their workout regimen. They're not disciplined with their mouths. They're not disciplined with their minds. They're not disciplined with their bodies. So, we can all take a note from Ramadan and really use it to hone your discipline, whatever you need to discipline yourself to stop doing or discipline yourself to start doing. Maybe you need to read more. Maybe you need to study more. Maybe you need to work on your fitness, your health, your finances. But whatever you need to do, it takes discipline to do that. But shout out Muslims worldwide for staying the course on Ramadan. All right, so now got all that, the formalities out of the way. We're going to dive right into the synopsis of the Narrator Podcast. So let's start at the top. Tippy, the name, the Narrator Podcast. I named my podcast the Narrator Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. So what I want to do to counter that false narrative that they project about our people and our culture is design a platform where I'm highlighting and showcasing us at our best instead of our worst, because the media, they go out of their way to, play up and propagate negative stereotypes and stigmas about our people and within our culture. They basically want to flip the narrative and, go out of their way to market us as, a degenerate people by playing up all these negative stereotypes and stigmas about our culture, about our people and within our culture. So, that's the media's job. They do it to everybody, but they do it to us especially because the media, their primary goal is to earn money, but then they also do it because they're, the higher echelon, the elite class, owns the media, and it's a part of their agenda to, warp the minds of the masses by feeding them images that they want them to see, that they want them to absorb and accept as reality. And the reality that they want to create for everyone is to, bear witness to their malevolence and, strive to be like them the elite class to, be a productive member of civilization, to, strive to want to be, earning six figures or better, to be extremely wealthy, extremely privileged, and unfortunately, extremely white. That's who the elite class is, wealthy white people, and they want everybody else to know how superior wealthy white people are by making everybody else appear degenerate in comparison to wealthy white people. And they use the media to do that. They want to project these images of, downtrodden, despot individuals, or how like sad life has to be for you if you're not earning like six figures or better. Like, they basically want to project the image of like, if you're not wealthy, if you don't have generational wealth, then what are you doing? Like, there's just nothing more to life than just money. But like I said, they do it to everybody. But they do it to our people the most. Original people, they do it to our people the most because they fear our people the most. They're aware of their history and they're aware of ours. They know how they came into, their financial wealth, how they came into their systemic power. They know that if there was no us, there would be no them. And their biggest fear is once we, as a people, band together and unite and start carrying and conducting ourselves like we are aware of our past, that we would reclaim everything they took from us and turn around and do to them the same thing that they've done and are currently doing to us. But it's a misplaced, ill-gotten fear, because that's not our true nature as a people. We don't have a history of, raping and pillaging and trying to force our beliefs and value systems on other people and forcing people to think what we think. Every, corner of the globe that, the elite class have ever existed, wars, famine, and pestilence, followed. The downfall of the civilizations followed when they set up, their system. But when you look at our past, everywhere we were originally located, only evolution, I don't like that word evolution, only progression and elevation took place. You see? Our people nurtured civilization. Our people taught people how to survive. We invented religion. We invented spirituality. We invented every form of, education you can think of. We invented every form of enlightenment you can think of. We gave people a reason to exist. All we ever did from our existence is give. We never took anything. But that's primarily the reason why, the media is ran by the elite class, and, that's the elite class's agenda. So, that's why I created the Narrative podcast to kind of counter their agenda. And, my mission statement is just basically to uplift and edify my people, which is a perfect segue for, my tagline for this podcast, the Narrator Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative stereotypes about original people and original people culture. How do I destroy the negative stereotypes about our people and our culture? By providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And that's, what the Narrator Podcast is all about, providing the listening audience with positive frames of reference about our people and our culture, and also to bring awareness to the listening audience of why it's important to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. It's not, that I'm here seeking validation from people outside of our culture. I'm not here trying to enlighten people outside of our culture about our people and our culture. This is just me saying, if you're going to tell our story, tell it correctly. In the correct way, you should tell our story, the original man and woman of this planet story, is tell it from the perspective of our true nature. And what is our true nature? Who are we truly as a people? We're kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe. Get that part right. And that's what I'm here on this platform to do, is to help them get that part right by providing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. Next order of business on the Narrator Podcast, I refer to our people as original people, or as a narrator, I jumped the gun. I call my target listening audience my narrators. And the reason why I call my target listening audience my narrators, because we're now living in the digital information age, and with this technology, where everybody's doing all day long with these little computers in their pocket, is sharing stories or telling or narrating their story. So like whatever you're posting online, that's what story update. Every social media platform, what's it say on the wall? Story update. So, why help the agenda that we know that's being pushed on us by telling the story that they want us to tell? And the story they want us to tell about ourselves is, the story of degeneracy. They want us to tell the story of, being in the gang, being a pimp, being a whore, being a thought, selling drugs, using drugs, unaliving your own kind, committing crimes against your own kind. These are the stories that, they want us to tell about ourselves. But being that we live in this digital information age, we're in the unique position to tell or narrate our own stories. So, while we cannot control, the information that's put out about our people and our culture, what we can control is what we as a people are posting online about our people and our culture. We can't, help how other people perceive us, how they react to us, how they interact with us. All we can do is just control, what we're posting, what kind of climate we're creating as a people. We can't, control and worry about and help how other people view us and what they think about us and all that, but we can control, the images that we post online about ourselves. Because at the end of the day, even though the media is ran by a horrible, wicked, class of people with a horrible, diabolical, wicked agenda, at the end of the day, it's all about supply and demand. That's how Fortune 500 companies collect data now. They monitor trends. They look at what people are posting and clicking on online, and what they'll do is they'll go and create products to accommodate, the demand for this, whatever, people are pointing on and clicking on online. And unfortunately, what we are pointing on, pointing at and clicking on and uploading online is degeneracy. And the media is creating, degeneracy for our people. They want, degeneracy to be the face of our people and our culture. And they're going to keep on creating product to accommodate that. That's why we have all these subpar movies, television shows, books, magazines, music, radio stations, negatively depicting our images and our likenesses. They're trying to, sell degeneracy, because we as a people appear to be fascinated with it, appear to them as business people that we want more of it. And so they'll keep on creating degeneracy for us to consume. And how we break that cycle is, show something different, that, show them that we're interested in something different. Show them that we're interested in knowledge. Show them that we're interested in education, in upliftment, enlightenment, cultural refinement, How do we do that? By what I said, posting positive content when it comes to our people and our culture. So that's how we change the narrative. In that retrospect, it's not the end-all, be-all solution, but it is a solution. And that's what I try to encourage people on my platform to do, is to post positive content about our people and our culture responsibly on whatever platform that they occupy. So next order of business, on the Narrator podcast, I refer to our people as original people. The reason why I refer to our people as original people versus black is because, we was originally here before every civilization on the planet. Our existence on this planet predates any log, any tablet, any chart, any graph, anything used to record time. Our existence here on this planet predates that. Our existence predates the Holy Bible. Our existence on this planet predates the Quran. Our existence on this planet predates the hieroglyphs, the Dead Sea Scrolls, papyrus, predates everything. Like I said, before anything was, we was. And contrary to all unpopular belief, we didn't evolve from monkeys. And our existence did not, 110% did not begin with slavery. We existed on every single corner of the globe imaginable before slavery. Like, you name a part of the world, any part of the world you want to, there was an original indigenous tribe of our people. And we was not, prehistoric in nature. It wasn't like Neanderthals. We didn't have no sloping posture. We didn't have cranial overbites. We weren't covered in fur. We weren't dwelling in caves. We weren't using prehistoric tools and weapons to survive. We, from the get-go, have been a highly advanced group of people. We've always been highly advanced. So, like I said, while slavery was a part of our history, it wasn't our definitive history. It did not begin with slavery, and, we didn't get to all these places in the world on slave boats, especially here in the Americas. It's a vicious, false narrative they keep on trying to make us as Americans swallow. When it was in reality, less than 60% of us came over on slave boats. We did have brothers and sisters come over on slave boats, but, the majority of us was already here. We already existed here. They just called us something different. They made up a name. They called us black. Put us on plantations. They called some other people who weren't the original natives, they called them Indians. And they put them on reservations. They came from other places. They came from northern places like Siberia and the Polynesian Islands. That's why when you look on job applications, it says, Native in the box. When you look on job in the box, Native American, Samoan, Polynesian. That's those people. Pacific Islander, but we was already here. We was already there too, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to, frame it up for you. But yeah, that's why I refer to our people as original people. Our existence on this planet predates everybody who was originally here first. The second reason why I refer to our people as original people is it unifies us as a people. Because like I said, there's many different types of us hailing from different land masses. We all have different political views, religious views, spiritual views, cultural views. But, the one thing that we all have in common, we all possess the essential building blocks of civilization. We all have the things of which the galaxy is comprised of, etched and embroidered in our skins. And we can all, from that, trace our lineage back to the original point of origin for all civilization. So that's what I mean by original people. No matter what we call ourselves, no matter if you say you Jamaican, you Haitian, you're from the UK, you from Canada, you from Germany, Switzerland, Barbados, Australia, wherever, Japan, Korea, China, wherever. You're original. no matter where you're from, no matter what language you speak, no matter, what deity you pray to, we are all original. We all original people. So that's why I refer to our people as original people. We can kind of argue amongst ourselves a little bit later who gets the reparations for being here, but, as a people, people outside of our culture, they all lump us into one category anyway. They just call us black, which, we know black isn't a nationality or nothing like that, but they just all lump us in together anyway. People outside of our culture, they say, oh, that's, black people. So by me referring to our people as original, I'm just saying, let's take that same energy and use that to unify and, band together instead of separate by calling us, the things we call ourselves. So that's why I refer to our people as original. If you're comfortable calling yourself black, if you're comfortable calling yourself African American, if you're comfortable calling yourself, Nigerian, Trini, Haitian, Bohemian, wherever you from, if you're comfortable with whatever, pronoun you have for yourself, then go right on ahead. I don't care if you call yourself a Negro. I'm just telling you why I refer to our people as original people. But next thing you should know about the Narrator Podcast is a time-sensitive platform. I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast because I want to touch a whole lot of subjects in a short amount of time. I want to keep my listening audience attentive and open-minded to, what I have to say about whatever I got to say. So basically, I don't want to bore my listening audience to sleep, and I don't want to rant. So I try to keep it short, sweet, and to the point to just engage my listeners and keep my content cohesive and have all the information just being fluid and not being repetitive and just staying fresh and exciting and entertaining. So you don't have to agree with what I say, but, I definitely don't want to bore you to sleep, and I don't want to just, talk you to death. That's why I try to keep it just, short and to the point. I definitely don't want to dumb myself down, and I don't want to shoot over people's heads. I want to be right there in that middle pocket. Did the time, original people. Oh yeah, so last bit of business. This is a positive space. I don't try to slander, gossip, or denigrate brothers and sisters on here. I try to advocate against that because I believe that's, tearing our community apart. Is, slinging insults and kicking people when they're down. I don't try to do that on here, and I try to encourage other people not to do it either. I mean, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about on your own platform, but as collectively as a whole, it's hurting us to engage in, denigrating each other online. Like one of the oldest things that they teach you, like right when you get of age, what they teach you, if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. And that's, kind of what I try to preach here on the Narrator Podcast. You know, if I don't have nothing nice to say about a brother or sister, I really won't say nothing at all. But however, you know, the exception to that rule is if a brother or a sister is intentionally, irresponsibly using their platform to promote things that are harmful to our people. You know, if they have a polarizing platform and, you know, they represent our people, like when, you know, dominant society views them, they see all of us. So whatever image that they're, you know, projecting, or, you know, whatever they're spewing out of their mouth is harmful to our people, I will say something in that retrospect. You know, I will, you know, say, you know, that from that retrospect, you know, that this person ain't right and they foul for this and that and the third. But, you know, it's not my mission to, you know, down talk people and drag people through the mud and hurl insults. Basically, like when I deliver commentary, I frame everything up on this platform from the why. You know, I let you know who we are, our true nature as a people. So like what happened in this scenario, how do we deviate from who we originally are? And it goes back to programming and conditioning. So I frame it up from the why perspective. It's like, you know, because, you know, we've been brainwashed and conditioned to just to take accountability for things we didn't do. Like that's their go-to every time we do anything negative in our community. We have to do better. We need to work on this, that, and the third. And we do. We have our in-house issues that we need to work on, but we don't constantly have to have people outside of our culture trying to correct us. When we do, you know, fall short of the mark and, you know, saying we're the most corrupt, we're the most criminalistic, and putting false statistics on us and trying to say, you know, there's no, you know, body more brutal and more savage than us, and that's just not true. However negatively we act towards each other, or, you know, say things about each other or do things to each other, Ripley's believe it or not, we've been programmed and conditioned to do that. So, you know, on this platform, I just try to bring awareness to why whatever negative thing happened within our community happened. You know, what's the bigger picture behind that? So like as the old saying goes, if you don't tell your own story will be told for you. And that's precisely what I attempt to do here on the Narrative Podcast, is tell our own story and not let, you know, the other man tell our story for us. So now that you're caught up and you know what to expect here on the Narrative Podcast from me, what type of content I'll be delivering this evening, I'm going to get right down to it, get to the getting, and kick it off right here on the Narrative Podcast with my very first section this evening. So like I said in the beginning, this podcast is dedicated into sharing positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And what I do during the weekday, the positive frames of reference that I share with the listening audience comes in the form of news articles. And I feel the need to do that because the news is constantly bombarding us with negativity. They're trying to sell us on the notion nothing positive ever happens, you know, within our community. You know, so I wanted to break that cycle by providing positive news that happens within our community, share stories about us excelling academically, being leaders in our community, raising our children, you know, rising to degrees of excellence, running our own businesses, taking care of our elderly, taking care of our children, just having, moving and navigating through life with a sense of urgency instead of always, being portrayed as downtrodden and in a hopeless situation. So I want to share stories and try to bring awareness to why it's important to share stories of us, triumphing in the face of adversity. So that's what the articles is all about here on the Narrative Podcast. So without any further ado, the first article here this evening on the Narrative Podcast, the headline reads, Black family-owned skincare line, the Melanated Bar, has officially reached 1 million in sales. So the Melanated Bar is a Chicago-based company ran by a husband and wife duo. So I'm giving you the positive frame of reference about generational wealth because, they're building an empire that they're going to leave to their children. So like after they're done, taking their business to heights that they can't take it to anymore, they're going to pass the baton on to their children. Their children's going to pass the baton on to their children and, like that. But it's the husband-wife team of a sister by the name of Paula and her husband, Chris Delors, Delors, Delors. So like I said, it's family-owned and operated. And if you want to know more about the product and what varieties of soap that they have, you can go to their website, www.themelanatedbar.com. They also advertised on Instagram, and you can go on Instagram and just type in the Melanated Bar, and you will see their page, and you will see, samples of, all the variety of soap that they have. So I can't actually say that I've purchased some melanated soap, but it does look good, and I know it's good for us, our people. Went to the website, so they say it's completely biodegradable, completely organic, not made with any artificial dyes and perfumes, just like everything within nature. Everything's minimally processed, so it's worth checking out. Join me in giving our sister Paula and her husband Chris a warm Narrative Podcast round of applause for the Melanated Soap Bar. All right, moving right along. I don't got too many articles this evening, you guys. I took that one weekend off and I didn't really, see anything, this week that I hadn't talked about in previously weeks or months prior to this. But, there's always some excellence happening within our community. You just have to look for it. And, that's what this section is all about, is to teach the listening audience to look for the positive things that happen in our community instead of going for the okie doke about the negative things that happen in our community. But anyway, next article, the headline reads, New plant-based restaurant is a hit. Very simplistic. So the name of the plant-based restaurant is called Native Foods. It's located in Chicago, Illinois. It's a chain restaurant, so it already existed previously, before he bought it, they have chains out in Colorado, in California. He basically, he wanted to be a restaurateur all his life. He has over 15 years in the food industry. And the brother's name is Dame Dia. And Dame was born in Senegal, which is in like the northern part of Africa. Some parts of Senegal, they speak French. He basically wanted to be a restaurateur his whole life. His very first job was working as a dishwasher at Red Lobster at Times Square in New York City. The article didn't really say how he got to Chicago. I try to like do that, walk you through the whole process, but sometimes just, it is what it is. Like whatever's in that article is just what it is. But it caught my attention because it's a story about stick-to-itiveness and tenacity, and then to not never give up on your dream. So he, like I said, he always wanted to be a restaurateur his whole life. He'd been working in restaurants his whole life. And he finally got his big opportunity, presented itself, and he used his own money when the opportunity came up to, have his own division of native foods. And basically it became an overnight success, and he's breaking all kind of records in the food industry, using that location to employ a whole lot of his own people, people from Senegal and people who are indigenously native to America as well. So, that is very interesting and definitely noteworthy. That's why I shared that story. So I wish it was more of the story to share, but like I said, that's all the information that article provided. So join me in giving a Warm Narrative podcast round of applause for our brother Dame Dia and his rise to becoming a restaurateur at the Native Foods in Chicago, Illinois. And the one he owns is located on South Clark, so 218 South Clark. If you live in Chicago, you know where it's at, or you're from there, or visit there, or frequent Chicago a lot, so you're acquainted with that. So go hit that up. Moving right along, last but not least, last article of the evening. Headline reads, Black entrepreneur develops new app that helps inventors project their ideas. And the brother's name is John Miller, and his partner to help him bring his ideas into fruition is Daryl Walker. So John is basically the computer brains behind the application, and or John Miller and Daryl Walker. I think I got their names confused, but the name of their invention is called Hue Mind. So like hue, like a ray of light, Hue, and then mind as in like brain. So it's a play on words, humind. They call it that because the application basically helps you. It's basically an app for inventors. So like if you invent something, whether it be something highly technologically advanced, such as like a computer, a software program, or some type of technology, or something like is mundane as a graphic t-shirt design. This application will help you retain your legal rights to whatever you invent. So like I said, John, he's the brain behind it. He's a former MIT grad, and then he also got a degree from the University of Boston in chemicals, and then chemical engineering, I believe, if I put it in my notes right. And then his partner, John, he's basically a lawyer, so he specializes in intellectual property. So, they just met one day on a humbug, and, they put their brains together and thought about something people commonly need. And so what they both experience, both throughout their careers, is, people get ripped off all the time inventing things. John was the inventor, and Daryl was the lawyer. So they was just like, did the Reese's peanut butter cup type thing, like, put the peanut butter in the chocolate. Like, that's how the idea came about. Like, what's something people need. And what all inventors need is how to keep their idea, keep it from getting stolen. And so, they wouldn't create an app for it. Now it's available for iPhone users. It's available in the Apple Store, and for Android users, it's available in the PlayStation. So you can go to either the Apple Store or the PlayStation, download the app, and you can see all the functions for yourself. What the program offers. And then I'm sure they got some premium features on it as well. So, if you're trying to invent something, like we're all trying to invent something, like these days, living in this computer, digital information age, everybody's trying to invent something. Nobody wants to get the short end of the stick and, have their ideas stolen from somebody. So that definitely is for you. If you're an inventor, or like if you just, one of them type of people that just goes around with the notepad, jotting notes, and, that definitely might be for you to help keep your rights for whatever you think about. And if somebody does take your invention, at least you got the receipts, and they're going to have to pay you for it. So, yeah. Let's give a warm Narrative Podcast round of applause to our brother John Miller and Daryl Walker and the Humind invention, and their invention, Humind. That's Huemind. All right, here we go. Moving right along. I got this next section is called Black History Facts. In this section, what I'm going to be talking about is just how it sounds: Black History Facts. Now, The reason why I'm doing this section is because when I started doing this section, it was February, Black History Month, and I said I was going to, give the listeners some Black history facts all throughout the month of February and into the first week of, March. But since I didn't do a broadcast over the weekend, last weekend would have been, my last Black history fact for the month of March in commemoration of Black History Month, which is in February and has only had only 29 days this year. So, I want to honor it for a month to give it its proper dues, to celebrate our accomplishments and achievements. That's why I'm doing the Black History section, but I didn't broadcast last weekend, so I'm back here this weekend to make up for that with a couple of Black History facts. So without any further ado, I'm going to dive right on in with the first Black History facts, toyed of this week here on the Narrative Podcast, weekday edition. It is the history of an invention called the pastry fork. And the pastry fork was invented by Anna Mangan, excuse me. She patented on March 1st, 1892. She unveiled her invention at the World's Columbia Cup, which was an annual celebration held in the city of Chicago, in the state of Illinois. A writer present, who a local writer that was covering the event, a journalist, said it's the only thing of its kind in the entire celebration. So, like I said, it was a celebration like something they did annually in that time period to, basically like let inventors show off their inventions. Now, what the pastry fork was just basically like the precursor to the spatula and the tongs. So it was like the precursor to a lot of utensils in the kitchen, because before the pastry fork, people were just really tearing and mixing things by hand. There wasn't no egg beaters back then. There wasn't no anything before the pastry fork. Now, of course, there was knives, but other than knives, there wasn't, no way to turn some food other than your hand. I think the only thing that they had as far as like kitchen utensils previously to the pastry fork was like, some type of device when you're deep fat frying things. But other than that, before the invention of the pastry fork, everything was just like, they was flipping and turning food with their hands. They was dicing, chopping, and mincing only with a knife, but they had to like pretty much like tear everything by hand, mix and fold everything by hand. So, and I think they might have had the wooden spoons too, but like I said, that was the first authentic kitchen utensil ever. So basically, she was born in 1844. Before inventing the pastry fork, she had a like a 30-year run as an educator. She started out as just a teacher, worked her way up to becoming a principal. She also wrote a couple books. I'm just giving you the condensed version because, like I said, I want to stay true to my time limit and try not to go over my time, but do yourself a tremendous favor and, hit that Google button and Google up the life and times of Anna Mangan, the inventor of the pastry fork. Let's give a warm narrative podcast round of applause for our sister blazing that trail, running so all culinarians and chefs and aspiring chefs could walk. She walked so we can run. All right, Rudy, here we go. Next Black History fact that I have for this week, and the last one I have for this week. I don't think I'll be doing a Black History fact this weekend if I'm broadcasting. I don't know if I'm going to be broadcasting. This time I at least will tell you, because last weekend it was just on a whim. I took a reflection day. Celebrated, it was my born day weekend, and I was like, okay, well, yeah. So you need a breather from the internet every now and again too, just to replenish the juices and pivot and try to make your content more exciting and things of that nature. But yeah, it's just a possibility that I might not be broadcasting a full episode this weekend, but anyway, for this last Black History fact, this is about the invention of something called the Green Book. And it was invented during Jim Crow by a former U.S. postal worker by the name of Victor Green. And so what the Green Book was, it was actually the precursor to the Michelin star. So if you've ever been to a Michelin star restaurant, you know how Michelin stars came to be. Well, if you don't, I'm going to bring you up to speed. So the Michelin star system on, restaurant quality, it was basically like a rating system. It was basically a gimmick to sell tires, Michelin tires, and they came up with, a guide, a trek of restaurants on popular interstate sites close to, Michelin tire facilities. So like just something outside of the range of wherever they were selling Michelin tires. And then it kind of morphed into the standard of fine dining. But before the Michelin star, there was the Green Book. And the Green Book, culminated from the need to not get lynched and unalived for mistakenly going to an establishment where they didn't serve original people or didn't want original people on their property. So this brother devised a system where he basically mapped, eateries and hotels and other retail outlets that served original people. So it was a guide. He started his first series of it in 1936, and he just kept on from the 30s all the way up until, everything became segregated. So his last green book that he published was in 1964, and then after that, everything was, desegregated. Like, segregation had ended, like, on his last book, so there wasn't a need for it anymore. So basically, it was just a guide to where you can get service. But even though it has air quote unquote ended, we still kind of need that service, because like you can't look people in their face and tell by just solely upon looking whether or not they want your business. Like, so we still kind of, so, there's that, like we're always going to need that service regardless as a people, like, but fun fact, we actually had to have a reference guide to tell us where we can go to receive service, where we could go to get lodging, what hotels to go to, what restaurants that served our people. There was a once upon a time in American history. So the last one was published in 1964, so that wasn't all that long ago. So, tell somebody who is 60 years old, that was that's ancient history. No, that's not all that long ago. And fun fact, history has a way of repeating itself. So it can happen again for those who think, oh, we ain't our ancestors, we'll mess you up. It can happen again. But I digress. But So join me in giving our brother, our pioneer, Victor Green, a warm narrative podcast round of applause for inventing the much needed back then Green Book. All right, so last section here on the Narrative Podcast during my weekday edition. I usually talk about current events, what's happening around the world, either globally, nationally, or just something happening specifically within our community. And the purpose of me doing that is, like I said, when I was giving the synopsis of the Narrative Podcast, it's all about, putting it in perspective from our perspective, telling our own stories. Because if you don't tell your own stories, your own story will be told for you. So this is just me putting in whatever's going on in the world, around the world, in perspective through our eyes. So current events. And tonight I don't really have a lot to talk about. The nation is, there's not nothing super pressing. Within our community is just like mostly like celebrity gossip. Nothing really confirmed, nothing really denied. Nothing is really like shaking the fabric of our culture apart for a change, and that's a good thing. Politically, I guess they're talking about voter suppression, but my views on the whole voting process in general, my only thing I would have to add to that is, like, first and foremost, stop voting. If you believe in the voting process, don't vote out of emotion. Look at policy. Whose policies, who got something in it for us? 2, all politicians are liars. So, whether they be Democrat, whether they be Republican, conservative, liberal, left wing, right wing, red, blue, as far as our people is concerned, they all devils and they all liars, and none of them ain't ever had anything good for our people. But if you just really dialed in and believe in the voting process, I would just say don't vote on emotions, vote on who got something in it for you. As far as voter suppression goes, we got to cross our I's and dot our T's. Make sure your ballot counts. There's we're walking around with cell phones. We got information at the touch of a button. You have to do the knowledge and learn, how your ballot counts, how they're tallying up the ballots. Make sure, you have everything that you need. Pay any outstanding debts or fines that might exclude you from being able to vote. Make sure if you've moved recently that everything's, up to date, your current mailing address. Make sure when you go to the poll, you're in your correct polling place. Make sure your driver's license or state ID is up to snuff. But as far as the voter suppression stuff, it ain't no secret they've been, suppressing our vote. Ever since voting has been in existence, they've always taken dire extreme lengths to suppress our vote. So, I don't really got nothing really to add to that conversation per se. Yeah, I think they're only the state, of course, where they're experiencing the largest record numbers of voter suppression is in Georgia, and they crunched the numbers during the primaries, so it's no surprise that it would be Georgia, the birthplace of original people excellence. That's the home of, original people that done made it. Georgia. ATL, shouty. They're sitting up there trying to suppress the vote, man. Yeah. They're trying to suppress the vote, man. So y'all know y'all got to do what y'all got to do down there. You know what I'm talking about? Nah, that was just my little attempt at humor, but like I said, hey, it is what it is, man. You gotta just dot your I's and cross your T's on that voting tip. I think the last but not least, like I said, I kind of broke the ice on the next topic, the passing of, Akira Toriyama. It was unprecedented, and the reason why I'm talking about that is because it had such a profound, his art form had such a profound effect on our community. So here's no shocker, like everything, manga, $1 trillion a year business. Most of it comes from our community. Our children are now involved in anime culture in record numbers. Our children support anime, like they're into all of that, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, Pokemon, like our children, like cosplay, all of that. Like all those, cons, our children, right there, front row. Every nickel, dime, and penny, they run into the comic book shop, they run into the anime circles, they run into the cosplay, they ordering it online, So that's why I'm talking about it, because it affects our community. Now, Akira Toriyama, who I believe was of Japanese descent, he created, a style of animation that is echoing all over the world. So not just our children love it and support it, but the majority of the children in the world are our children, and they love it and support it. And if you don't believe me, all you got to do is pull your device out or log on right now or go on YouTube right now, and you will see like 80% of the tributes to Akira Toriyama came from our community. All the thousands of content creators from our community that, doing RIPs on TikTok, on YouTube, dedicating their social media channels to Akira Toriyama. So we spend a lot of money in anime. And another, alley that I'm going down is we get disrespected in that genre. Because unfortunately, the way we're depicted in most Japanese anime is stereotypical. When he was animating people from our community, dark skin, pale lips, blackface type, that's, the types of images that he was putting out there to portray our people. But then at the same time, he was borrowing from our culture as well. So like hip hop, he was infusing that into a lot of his characters. But the interesting thing, especially in the Dragon Ball Z mythos, is how much of Moorish culture he borrowed from. Like, there were so many characters in Dragon Ball Z that adorned Moorish garb. They had turbans. They had those MC Hammer pants, the little puffy Moorish pants. I think they call them harem pants. So, like I said, he incorporated a whole lot of our culture into, his fantasy world, but then also kind of stigmatized and stereotyped us as well. So it's like a backhanded compliment. So he's like, in a sense, saying, I like your music, I like your fashion sense, but then you're still a monkey. And a whole lot of anime people, they can attest to our involvement to the world of Akira Toriyama and all the millions of dollars it generated, and from like how engrossed and how much we propel that industry forward, we don't have too much control in it. And you can't use the argument that, oh, well, it's Japanese, it originated in Japan, because the trump card is we're the original man and woman. Like, we was already all over the continent of Asia. Like, Asians got our aesthetics. Those almond eyes, you can trace that back to Africa. Nomadic African tribes, went over to the continent of Asia. Like, we was already indigenously located in Japan, in China, in Thailand, in Korea, in the Philippines, in Mongolia. Like, we was everywhere. So if you ever want to know where we ever existed, all you ever have to do is look at artwork and statues. So, yeah. Just like everything in the world, our people highly support something. We pour all of our money out of it, but don't get represented in a positive light. So, I don't want to overanalyze an animated cartoon, but at the same time, it's like, how do you say it without saying it? And Asian culture really wouldn't exist without our culture, because all the great Asian philosophers, they went over to ancient Kemet and studied. All the people in the all the Chinese zodiac was, tailored after our zodiac, original zodiac. All the greats, Confucius, Ho Chi Minh, Lao Tzu, all the great philosophers, they all studied in ancient Kemet. They all studied in ancient Kemet. And took from it, what they wanted from the library and incorporated it into their civilization, like everybody else. So, said all that to say, we got as much claim in the world of anime and Asian culture as Asians do. And then, you know what? I go even one further. What's happening in Africa? People are saying Asian people are invading Africa. They're not invading. Just marinate on this. The world ends the way everything ends, the way it starts. So they're not invading Africa. They're going home. Just think about it in the conscious community. Think about it from this perspective. Now, what do we refer to ourselves as in a whole lot of circles, like NOI and the 5% Nation? What do they refer to our people as? The what? The Asiatic black man. What they call Africa? Long Asia. So you see, I said all that to say, like, anime, Japanese culture, or Asian culture, it's just as much as ours as it is theirs. Probably more so. So we have every right to participate in like cosplay and reading manga and everything that comes out of that world. And now, speaking as an older brother, I would much rather our youth, be involved in anime than being involved in criminal activity on the street. I will much how a breath of fresh air it is to see a young man between the ages of 12 to 20 into them anime characters walking out the house with an anime whatever their favorite anime character is, as opposed to walking out the house with gang insignias. And the same thing on with our young ladies walking out the house dressed like their favorite female anime character, as opposed to a raunchy female rapper or a female R&B singer known for showing off their goodies on camera. But yeah, that's all I want to point out. I just wanted to point out all the how our influence influenced the world he created, the Naruto universe, the Dragon Ball Z universe, all them African influences, all those hip hop influences that he incorporated to build his dynasty. And I don't mean to come across as disrespectful, because he is no longer here, and he's never addressed it in life of where he was getting his influences from. But there's a trail of breadcrumbs a mile long. Like I said, all the DBZ, most of the characters in DBZ franchise, they was all adorned in Moorish garb. They all had turbans and Moorish pants. But that's all I want to briefly touch on, the life and legacy of Akira Toriyama, where he got his influences, and just how much the world he created means to our youth. Now, what I am noticing, there are a whole lot more anime studios that original people have opened in in Japan. A whole lot more of us are going over to Japan, so he kind of helped bridge the culture together. Asians was very, very very pivotal in the 70s to our movements. They whole lot of people in Asian cultures, supported the Black Panther Party and, supported the BGA, the Black Guerrilla Army, and all that in the 70s. I don't know what happened after 70s to where we got to, we can't go inside their grocery stores, and our women can't go inside their places to buy hair in the beauty salons. How we went from being united to getting disrespected. So we need to get back to that, and maybe this anime culture kind of will help bridge that gap, and we can build back that unity to where it used to be within our communities, like how we used to cohabitate and coexist with each other and rise up together in solidarity against the common threat, the powers that be. We can get back to that, because that ain't this convenience store culture, this beauty mart culture, that got to go. Like, they can't keep on just being in our neighborhoods disrespecting. Like, nah. Well, I kind of veered off putting, but my main point I was trying to make is, at the end of the day, he created a beautiful art form that, rekindled our children's innocence within their childhood, because there's so much going on the internet that forces children to grow up prematurely, and with his franchise, the Narrator and the DBZ and everything he created, it's like they get a chance to just savor their childhood. They can just like watch the anime and and get some type of a comfort. But that's all I want to end out on, is like how much how influential we was to that world, how influential hip hop was, how influential Moorish culture was, African culture was to the world he created. So yeah, this episode of the Narrative Podcast is officially over. Just bear in mind, I broadcast 2 times a week, once during the week day and once during the weekend. I never really fully know what days during the weekday that I will have to, upload episode of the Narrative Podcast. So your best bet is to tune in on a regular basis wherever you get your podcast information from. And the best way to do that is to follow me on YouTube. My viewer channel is Halsey Allen on YouTube. And then also this platform that I'm on broadcast directly to X, formerly as known as Twitter. So like every time I upload an episode, every time I finish an episode, actually, when I'm done recording, it automatically uploads to, YouTube and X. Any other platform where it appears on, I have to like manually put it on there. But it automatically uploads to YouTube and X. So I'm Halsey Allen on YouTube, and I'm Halsey Allen on X. On YouTube, just hit my viewer page, Halsey Allen. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, and you'll always be notified when a new episode of the Narrative Podcast premieres. And also follow me on X, and you'll always be in the loop when the episode of the Narrative Podcast premieres. So that's that. I've also written a book. If you have not done it, please do it. A book called The Black Card. The Black Card is available on poetizer.com. The Black Card is a 30-page book of poetry. It's an all-encompassing look about who we are as a people. It encompasses and embodies our people and our entire culture. Everything we go through as a people, positive and negative, all the nuances about our culture. It's a real witty and insightful, good creative read. It'll make a great coffee table read, travel book, or a chill book. Do yourself a huge favor, go cop that today. The Black Card, available on poetizer.com. They have a virtual bookstore, So just go to poetizer.com and go inside their virtual bookstore and purchase my book, The Black Card. Last but not least, support my poetry blog on blogger.com. The address is www.mrhalsey'sblogs.com. And my tagline is poetry with a passion, poetry for all occasions. And when you read one of my poems, you'll find out why. Halsey's Poetry Corner is just a blog where I'm posting poems that I write in the spur of the moment. I don't contemplate on the subject matter, the title, anything. That's what makes my poetry on Halsey's Poetry Corner unique. It's just like they're so intricate and complex. You would think that I wrote them down on a tablet or something. By the way they're structured, by the way each poem is structured, but actually I didn't. I really did just write every single poem posted on Halsey's Poetry Corner on the fly, completely in the spur of the moment, off the cuff, like I didn't, dwell on anything that I wrote. Any poem that's currently posted on there. Matter of fact, my bio says something to the effect that I don't write my poems. My poems write themselves. I haven't did any new entries lately. That's why I'm kind of rusty on my own bio. But basically, I'm saying in my bio, like, I don't write my poetry. My poems write themselves. God literally just beams it down into my head, and it becomes reality. So basically, that's what I'm saying in that. So go check out and support my poems posted on Halsey's Poetry Corner at www.mrhalseysblogs.com. And the way you support my poetry is by sharing either the link to Halsey's Poetry Corner across all platforms, or a poem featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner across all platforms. But whatever you do, just share my poetry or the link to my poetry blog on all platforms. Now, for the visual platforms such as TikTok and YouTube and all that, InShot, whatever you're active on visually, you would probably have to just shout out my poetry blog, shout out Halsey's Poetry Corner, or a poem featured on Halsey's, the title of a poem featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner that you enjoyed in the video scenario. But whatever you do, share it on any platform that you're active on, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. So like, whatever you're active on, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, all the visual ones, like you would have to just shout out Halsey's Poetry Corner or a poem, or the title of a poem that you enjoy on Halsey's Poetry Corner, on anything, that you're in front of a camera to make upload. But whatever you do, just share the link to Halsey's Poetry Corner or a poem featured on Halsey's Poetry Corner across all platforms. And then also, don't forget to download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrator podcast. So, big, huge favor, please listen to all my episodes. Download all my episodes. Hit the download button, the little downwards triangle button. Like all my episodes. So like, hit the little heart button. I think the like button is universal across all platforms. Like, and then you can also comment on the Narrator podcast. It's got a little comment section. You can leave me a comment for episodes of the Narrator Podcast, wherever you get your podcast information from. But whatever you do, make sure you're downloading episodes of the Narrator Podcast. This episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast. Stay tuned for a new episode of the Narrative Podcast premiering soon. I'm planning to do it this weekend, but in the event I don't, you're hearing it here first. There is a strong possibility I might not be doing an upload this weekend, but just plan on tuning in this weekend and downloading an episode of the Narrator Podcast. Well, that's it, and that's all, y'all. Peace and love, family. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Narrator Podcast. Remember to download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast wherever you get your podcast information from. I'm Halsey Allen. I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. I'm asking you to help me in my mission by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time, as a narrator, you will be helping me change the narrative one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen and the Narrative Podcast signing off. And it's like that.
Listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.